My name is Hutch. I make videos and put them on the internet, and welcome to another episode of Quality Time with Hutch. Being that it's Friday, this week's guest is none other than Bruce Greene from Funhouse, who is a handsome gentleman that I met in either late 2011 or early 2012. He left G4 and X-Play. He was doing producing over there to come work for Machinima to produce stuff over there. At some point, he got linked up with Kovic and became sort of a regular part of Inside Gaming. Eventually left to form his own company with Kovic and a bunch of those guys called Funhouse. They're now under Rooster Teeth, and they're doing big things over there. So I reached out to him, asked him if he wanted to let me interview him for a little bit, and he said yeah. So this is it. Sit back, relax, enjoy the video.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Nothing, man. How are you doing?
Good. I ran into you at the Destiny thing, but it was hard to find the time to make too much small talk with anybody there.
No, it's totally fine. That was kind of the same thing with everybody. I just ran into a bunch of people I knew and said hey and moved on.
Yeah. Do they got you sending out, or do they have you going out to a lot of events with Funhouse?
No. So that's actually kind of a rare thing. We only do that maybe 3 or 4 times a year. We used to do it all the time with Inside Gaming, as you know, but not anymore.
Yeah. Well, Kovic's always been a Bungie fanboy. I think he played a bit of the Destiny when it first dropped, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, he definitely played Destiny. And I'm sure we'll play Destiny 2 now that it's on PC. So
it looked real good on PC, huh?
I really enjoyed it, actually. I didn't play Destiny 1 at all because I kind of avoided it. Since it was a shooter on consoles, I just didn't want to be bad at it.
Yeah.
So I just decided to wait for PC, and I had a blast.
Destiny was one of those games, though, where, like, you didn't really need to be too try-hard about it. Like, I feel like you could have been sort of average at console first-person shooter and still had fun with it.
Oh yeah, maybe. I just avoided it because I didn't want to be a burden to my teammates.
You know what? That's the noble thing to do, and I can respect that on some levels.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, I was gonna do an intro, but we're already talking. So, your name is Bruce Greene. You are currently with Funhouse, formerly of Machinima and G4, if I'm not mistaken.
You are 100% correct. I worked at G4 and Attack of the Show.
Yeah, we worked together for probably like, I want to say 8 months, something like that. Not quite a year, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to remember the time frame. It was so long ago.
Yeah, you were only there for a little bit. Like, I kind of just met you. We shot a couple things with you, and then you left. And there was a bunch of things that happened in your life that I never really got to talk to you about and find out what happened.
Same, yeah. That's kind of why I wanted to reach out and get you on here. I already had a Kovic come on about maybe a couple months ago, and he kind of told me the genesis story of Funhouse from his perspective. But I'm definitely curious, because you guys like built something like nice over there, like super quick. So I'm curious, what that looked like. Like, how did that go down for you? Did you guys know that you wanted to split off, months before you did? And, how was it like on the ramp up to launching that channel?
Yeah, I'm sure actually Kovic and our story is probably pretty similar. But, I mean, in terms of, let's see here, do you want the beginning of Inside Gaming from my perspective? Because Adam had been doing it for years, or do you want the beginning of Funhouse?
The beginning of Funhouse from your perspective.
Oh, yeah, great. So we've been doing Inside Gaming for a couple of years, and we had been talking with just a bunch of different people for a long time. Like, while we were working at Machinima, we've been talking to Fullscreen, and we've been talking to, I think, even a couple other just random organizations and stuff like that, people that we had known. And Adam had been talking to Rooster Teeth for years. And it wasn't like, hey, we're going to bring everybody over. It was more of like a, like, hey, we're friends. Like, we all sort of have the same interests and we do the same stuff. And,
yeah.
And we just all had the same group of friends. And then when Fullscreen bought Rooster Teeth, I want to say that was November of 2014. I remember both Adam and I kind of looked at each other and we were like, huh, like we just sort of sat there and thought about it. Because we'd been talking to Fullscreen for about a year, and then Rooster Teeth, Adam had been talking to them for 3 years, 2 years.
Yeah.
And that was it was an interesting confluence of events that neither of us knew. So we were just working at Machinima kind of with our heads down. And when that happened, we then started to seriously consider kind of if Machinima was on the path that we were on. And it really didn't feel like it. It felt like Machinima wanted to be an MCN. They wanted to be a talent network. Is that how you felt about it?
Well, I don't know. My perspective was kind of skewed because when I was brought on, it was like there was kind of like this golden child aspect to it. And so I don't know if I had a really clear picture of everything that was going on at the time. I was in a little bubble, as it were, a little Respawn bubble. And I would try to make conversation with people in other departments and connect with other people, but it really felt like my experience with the company was disconnected from everybody else's. And so when a lot of people had, problems, I couldn't it was hard for me to be there to be the guy that they would talk to about it. And so I ended up feeling a little bit isolated by the end of it. But yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure if that got.
No, it does. It does. And that makes sense to us. I think it's funny you say that because when I first started, Respawn, UC, Anders, and Sark, you guys were the guys, right? Like basically the entire company, if something was needed with internal production, they went to Respawn. And, they're like, yeah, Respawn will do this, Respawn will do that. And I'm sure that probably tired you guys out.
A little bit sometimes.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense actually that you say that you were isolated because I think after a couple of years of doing inside gaming, eventually the company was doing the same thing with us. They were yeah, inside gaming will promote this, inside gaming will sell this, and we were like, no, we try to make a walled garden for ourselves there.
Yeah.
And the more that, and it wasn't because we hated the people in the company. It was just more of it felt like we were on two different roads.
And you got to take care of you. You have to put there's no reason to put the company's needs ahead of your own in that spot. I think in that spot, you kind of have to think about your future, especially when you had so much opportunity and especially when you had found the amount of success that you guys had found towards the end.
It's interesting you say that because to a certain extent, I definitely agree. There is another aspect to working at a company though. It's typically when you work at a company, you have to also include the company's goals.
Right.
And that's just normal. That's just something I kind of grew up with working in a bunch of different companies.
Totally. Yeah.
And even it's funny because even with Machinima's, for example, Rooster Teeth's goals are very in line with ours, and Machinima's goals weren't. They just weren't. And it wasn't. I don't think anybody's fault. I just think it was more of every time that we talked about it in the inside gaming room, it was just more of they want to do this, and all of us were that's kind of a weird thing. I don't know why they'd want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, all right, we'll do our best.
Well, if I could clarify, I didn't mean to say while you're there, just do whatever you want because you're the star of the show. I meant when you're thinking about your future and where you want to be in a few years, then you don't necessarily have any obligation to be at that company for, an indefinite amount of time.
No, you're absolutely right. And actually, that's another good point you bring up, which is you don't have an obligation to stay at a company. They're out to make money, just every other company in the world. And it's kind of it's one of those things where if you feel like your goals, personal goals, are in line with the company's goals, then eventually you'll be great. We're a great team. This is a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of 2014, we just didn't feel that way about Machinima. They were in a different path, and so when Fullscreen bought Rooster Teeth, and Adam had been doing I think the most talking to Rooster Teeth at the time, he sort of was hey, they want to do this with us, they want to do this with us. We had talked a lot with those guys at Rooster Teeth, a couple of people here and there. I didn't have a spectacular read on them, but Adam did, and he was no, it'll be good for us type thing. And it didn't take very much convincing. I think it took maybe a month or two, and we were let's give this a shot. Then it was just up to us to figure out if we were all going to go together or if it was going to be are we going to do a piecemeal type of thing?
No,
and we all ended up.
You guys did a full on backdraft. You go, we go.
Yeah, and it was, but that was, we had been discussing that for a very long time.
Yeah,
and it was something that I think a lot of people were afraid about. They were all really, really scared, and I was too. That's a big deal.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you. That was going to be my next question. When you went into it, your first week at Rooster Teeth, was it more excitement and inspiration or anxiety?
For me, I think it was I had gotten rid of all the anxiety at that point.
It's a handy trick.
I felt more excited. I was the anxiety came from leaving Machinima. The excitement was, I think, when we first had Bernie in the office before we launched Funhouse, the channel. We had him in there for 3-4 days, and I remember there were a couple of times where we would talk to Bernie, and Bernie would say yeah, I think you guys should do this, and then I would speak up or Adam would speak up and we go, yeah, but this, and this. And then Bernie would go, yeah, you know what? You're right. Let's do it your way. And I remember being like, whoa, holy shit, that's crazy. I've never had like a CEO of a company be like, yeah, you know what? That's probably a better idea. Let's do it your way. And that was super encouraging. That was one of those things where I started sort of feeling like, okay, like this could be a good place for us.
Were you afraid of failure, or did you guys have a pretty good idea that you would be, find some level of success pretty much immediately? Because you guys had built up a nice little like routine for yourself. Because inside gaming had been a thing for a long time, but there was this kind of like boom at the end where it started to. YouTube is so weird like that, because it's like you'll have these peaks and then these little valleys and then peaks and valleys, and then even like it's really hard to keep people's attention. But you guys managed to start building an audience once again after having this existing property that had already been there for like what, 8 years or something like that.
Yeah, actually, hold on a sec, Adam. How long did Inside Gaming exist? When did it start? Yeah, Adam. So Adam, I think he started in 2009. And I came on to that at the beginning of 2013, so he'd been doing it for 4 years already. Yeah, I mean, like to your question, it was something where I think we all thought, okay, yeah, we had, I want to say almost 700,000 subscribers when we left on the Inside Gaming channel. Yeah. So at Funhouse, we were like, we'll probably take half that. Let's say in the first month we'll get 350,000 subscribers. And and then we'll just sort of build from there. Didn't
you guys get like 600K in like the first 3 days or something stupid? Wasn't it something ridiculous?
It was something like, I want to say 300,000 in a day, or at like almost 2 days.
Yeah, that was nuts. I was watching that go down.
It blew my mind. I honestly had no idea. And it was from there on, it became something that like it was like basically just eternal growth for us so far.
That must have felt incredible. That first day.
It did. Hutch, it absolutely did.
That first day must have been nuts, man.
No, yeah. And honestly, it was one of those things where like now every time I see somebody, because a lot of people will say to me, like either online or in person, or they'll say like, I've been watching since Inside Gaming. I always thank them, because that's a big deal. That's a huge deal for them to have been watching for so long and stuck with us. Yeah. Like even move from channel to channel. I'm that kind of stuff is unheard of. And to have so many people do that, it's like, like, I'm eternally thankful to the fans for that.
It's always been the case that people have short attention spans on YouTube, but I feel like that's sort of escalated in the last few years. It's even more noticeable to me now. So to hold someone's interest over that period of time, and then to get them to like, even though really it's only 2 steps, like you go click on the new page and then hit subscribe. A lot of people just can't be bothered to do that. So to get almost 500,000 people, whatever the number was in a day, that was really cool to see that happen too. Because like I was, all you guys are nice guys. You were all nice to me during my time at Machinima, and so it's good to see the nice ones succeed.
Oh, well, thank you. We were no, yeah, I mean, and it's funny that one of those things again where like all the original production guys at Machinima, I honestly for the most part I was always like, man, it'd be really great if we could all have our own little space that isn't within Machinima. And so, when you left and kind of like started your own thing, I was always like, I wonder what happened. I went like, maybe like, I wondered if you'd burned out or if you had, just who knows? And so I never got to ask you about it.
Yeah, it was total burnout. You saw it on my face. Like you were one of the, the last day that I was there, I remember like, I got to the door, I picked up my last check, I got to the door and I was like, man, it would be so bad if I just didn't say goodbye to everybody. So I turned around and I said goodbye to everybody, even though I was like kind of a wreck that day. Because it was like, I was like feeling a lot, there was a lot of conflicting emotions. Like I wanted to leave, but I also didn't want to leave. And that was a really difficult choice to make. But I remember you, I told that to you. I basically said like, I just can't do this anymore. And you're like, I get it. Like I didn't have to expand any further. I think you could just see it on my face. It was just like, I think it was pretty obvious, and you just that stuck out to me when you said like, yeah, I get it, man, totally, that makes sense to me.
I just come from a job at G4 that I'd done for 5 years, where I had burned out on that job. I want to say 3 years into it, and I had 2 more years left where I was like, I am so burned out on this. I need to find another job that I want. So it took a while, and so when you told me that, I understood. I got it.
So how do you avoid burnout now?
I mean, there are ways to avoid burnout in terms of like vacation, and like basically like there's the ultimate way to avoid burnout, which is a sabbatical. And that's a kind of thing where like I feel like if you've been working for 10 years, 20 years or whatever, then you should take a sabbatical and like sort of, you know, reassess your life for a few months. But to be honest with you, a really good way to avoid burnout, and this is going to sound, I think, like a cop-out answer, but you continue working and you are really grateful for what you have. That's,
sure.
You know, like, honestly, I feel like that's a really big secret to success, is trying to find the silver lining in what you do. And by the way, the job that we have is almost all silver lining. We just came back from Disneyland. So like, I mean, like,
were you guys shooting something over there, or was it just for fun?
No, it was actually just an employee outing. Like, it was kind of one of those things where like I had been planning it for a few weeks, and I surprised everybody. Like, let's just go to Disneyland for the day. Like, let's not work. Let's go to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And like Rooster Teeth allows us to do that. Have the freedom to go, and that's a huge deal. And that, by the way, we're taking a break from playing video games. So it's like, you know, like, yeah, there's lots of other work involved with that, but we're running a channel that a bunch of people love, and we're getting to play video games, make content we like, and it's very, very, very little to complain of. And yes, of course, you can burn out on that, but I think if you look at it with the right glasses on, it's really, really tough.
Sometimes it takes some experiences of your own to kind of get that perspective, but I'm 100% with you on that one, because I've had, you know, like your perspective changes when you lose the thing that you once had. And it all of a sudden, you know, I've been through like a lot of ups and downs on YouTube, but I'm in a pretty decent place right now. Like, I got a nice little community that I like, and I'm grateful every day. Like, every time someone hits subscribe when I'm streaming, every time someone donates, every time someone subscribes to the YouTube channel, like I try to be grateful for each and every one of those gestures that I see, and it does help to give me energy, because it makes me think about them. Like, if they're tuning in, they want to be entertained. They want to kind of tune out and zone out and forget about whatever stresses they had going on that day. And yeah, it helps me keep focused. So yeah, I'm with you on that one too. How do you how do you avoid conflict within your group? How do you guys deal with differences of opinion, or maybe someone's irritable that day? Do you guys have any kind of best practices that you've learned throughout the last couple of years for dealing with that sort of thing?
I mean, for me personally, you can't really avoid conflict in the sense that, like, you're always going to disagree on something, whether or not it's movies or television or work environment or who knows. And I feel like it kind of comes down to the people to really think about how they act and think about what they say, and then, you know, pull each other's side. If you feel like you said something that was like an asshole move, and you're like, oh shit, like that could have been really construed as an asshole. Like, think about your actions. Try and be self-aware is what I'm getting at, and then go and apologize. Like, even if you think you didn't do anything wrong, think about how it may have looked from their perspective.
Yeah.
And go, okay, like, you know what? It could be construed as the fact that I was just being a total dick. And also, like, yeah, you said, like, I was irritable that day or whatever. Like, text them or go talk to them and say, hey man, like, I'm really sorry I said something like that. I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
And if, you know, and they'll tell you, they'll be like, oh no, I didn't think about that at all. Like, we're all good. Or they'll be like, you know what? Yeah, it's thanks for coming to me. Thanks for apologizing. Like, it's just a person-to-person conversation.
Just common decency goes a long way in those kind of settings. Just remembering to always say please, thank you, and I'm sorry. Like, that'll get you. I think that you know, with that those three simple things that we just so often forget in our day-to-day make such a huge difference when you have, especially in a creative environment, when you have like a small group of people and your objective is to make entertaining stuff. That can sometimes be like, there's a lot of pressure there, you know, because sometimes you wake up and you're just not fucking feeling it. But you guys always look like you're having fun. Like the chemistry on your squad is very noticeable. Do you guys ever have to fake it, or are there ever days where you're like, man, I really just want to not do this right now, but I got to make this video? Or is it literally always that fun?
There are always days, like you just said. It's funny you say that, because I don't know. I'm not sure if people understand that when there are days you get up and you're like, boy, I am really tired. My stomach hurts and my head hurts. I have to go into work and be funny, or I have to go into work and laugh at stuff, or I have to go into work and that's relatively difficult. It can be on certain days. Other days it's really easy. But going back to what I was saying earlier about your perspective, then it's like, okay, I'm here. I'm hanging out with my friends. We're going to play a video game. Our objective is to have fun and just kind of dick around with each other. Then that sort of brightens you up a little bit, right? You've got that same perspective.
Yeah.
Is, hey, I'm like, we're just here to have fun. And we're, you know, creating entertaining content can be difficult at times. But if you're just dicking around and like, we're in a good space where we're on YouTube and it's very casual. It doesn't have to be like this perfectly written, perfectly executed content. We just get to, dick around with each other. And once you look at it with that perspective, it sort of brightens your day. It'll actually help you feel better, even physically.
Yeah, you want polish, but maybe not too much polish, because then it becomes like a TV show. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It becomes something you would watch on G4, and that's not why people go to YouTube, I don't think.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right.
What's been your favorite memory so far? What's been your most stressful memory so far of your time on Funhouse?
Of my time at Funhouse, let's see. My favorite memory. Well, I always say this, and I know it. Like I said, it sounds like a cliche, but every time we get to do a drunk stream, those are my favorite memories. And what you see on camera is what I experienced. And I don't know if have you watched any of those drunk streams?
No, not yet.
So like what we do is basically it's just punishment. So like when you play Dark Souls and you die, everybody takes a shot if somebody dies.
Oh man, I would not last very long.
Right. And so we end up taking 10, 15, 20 shots in an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then afterwards we make content. Now that's the time where it starts to get fuzzy, and whatever is on camera, like there'll be times I'll watch that stuff and be like, I don't remember doing that at all. And that's those. I think that's the most fun that I have. We have a E3 drunk stream coming up where we drink during the press conferences, and so every time something happens in an E3 press conference, we take a shot. But the press conferences are spread over 3 days.
Yeah, and they're like at 10 in the morning.
No shit, dude. So we're gonna do that for 3 days: Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I mean, that's going to be a shit fest, and it's it'll be hilarious. It's going to be very, very funny. I
can't do it. I could do like 6 shots in an hour and a half, but anything more than that, and I'm like on the precipice. I'm a throw upper. I'm a puker.
No, well, that dude. Yeah, and that honestly, that'd be okay. Even if you came in and wanted to drink with us, and you could go throw up and then come back and play with us again if you wanted to.
Well, you make it sound so simple when you make it sound like that. Sure, why not? Yeah.
But then in terms of most stressful, I'm trying to think of like a very, very stressful memory. I mean, to be honest with you, the stress came at the beginning when we first started. The first 6 months of working at Funhouse was pretty stressful because we were trying to find a place within Rooster Teeth, but also work from a distance. Since Rooster Teeth is in Austin and we're in LA, it can be very difficult to find a vibe with people at Rooster Teeth because you don't get to see them face to face.
Yeah.
And that's very, very stressful.
I thought I had heard you guys were gonna move to Austin initially. Was that one of the plans at first, or
No, that was actually never the plan. It was kind of one of those things where we had talked about it initially with Matt and Bernie, and they were like, "Do you guys want to move to Austin?" And all of us were like, "No," and they're like, "Okay," and they hired us in LA. And occasionally they'll ask or whatever. They'll just say, "Hey, do you guys want to come out?" Or like it'd be really great if we had you out, blah blah. And we're always like, you know what? Right now we all live in LA. Like Adam and I are from LA, so it's kind of this thing where they ask, and we continue to be a profitable business for them. So we're just trucking along in LA.
Yeah, it's hard to uproot your whole life. I mean, you got like a bunch of people on your staff too, so it's like that's a lot of people moving to Austin.
Right, exactly. I mean, and honestly, you know how it is to uproot your life. You did it.
Yeah, I mean, from Northern California to Southern California. I mean, it was definitely a big change. I didn't know anybody when I moved down here, like not a soul. So that was quite the experience for me.
That may have added to your isolation as well, and it's kind of one of those things that whenever I hear that, I always wish I knew, because I would have been like, dude, Hutch, let's go hang out. I don't want anybody to feel isolated.
I would have appreciated that, but I don't know if I would have even been in a position to I was pretty fucked up at the end. So, but like, I look at that experience like a good thing, because I really did learn a lot from that. And now I take really active steps in my day to day to avoid reaching that place again. And the perspective that I got from it has like helped me out. It's like definitely brought some valuable insight into my life. So I try not to look at it with, like there was like a couple years where I didn't like thinking about it too much just because it was just too raw. But after enough time passed, I've been able to draw inspiration from it and, use that experience to make my life better. So yeah, it's not a sad story.
You made a really good point earlier, which was once something is gone, then you really start to appreciate it, and you have a different perspective on life.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
And you're absolutely right. You're 100% right.
Well, listen, I'm not going to take up too much of your time here. I appreciate you coming on and having this chat with me. I didn't realize Adam was next to you the whole time. Tell him I say hello when you get a chance.
Says hello. Adam, go ahead and say hello.
Hello.
Let's I'd like to get drunk with you guys. Let's get some drinks one of these days. That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We can just go after work, or you can come to our E3 stream. Either one.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm gonna reach out to you, but I might take you up on that, man.
You should. You're back in LA, right?
Yeah, I live. Yep, I almost said where I lived. Yeah, I live in the LA area, and I'm gonna be. We got an Airbnb like close to the venue at E3 this year, so I'll be pretty close there for like the whole 3 days.
Hutch, please come by, please.
I will, man. Yeah, I'll hit you up in the DMs and we'll figure it out.
Excellent. Hey, thanks again for having me, man. I appreciate it. Anytime I'll do it.
Same to you, man. Take it easy, pal.
All right, see you, man.